Reflecting on the impact since last year's launch of the Ownership Dividend, I would say that it's been in three key areas. Firstly, increasing the breadth of influence of employee ownership, especially with political audiences and business organisations. Secondly, extending the reach of employee ownership, and that's through business organisations, particularly around awareness raising and capacity building. And finally, developing the credibility of employee ownership, and that's using the stats, the evidence and the case studies that came through the Ownership Dividend. And obviously the Ownership Dividend launched at a time where we were able to tap into some really key economic issues. And first of all, there was a need to plan better for business succession and survival rates. Then there's the issue of performance and productivity of SMEs and family-owned businesses. And then there's the final impact, which is obviously about regional economies and how to build more sustainable regional economies. The business partners who supported the Ownership Dividend were massively important because they provided a real level of credibility and scrutiny. And I would say that all of them have now turned into active champions for employee ownership. So what that means is they've helped us extend the reach of employee ownership through awareness raising and capacity building and education. And all of these things were in the action plan of the Ownership Dividend. So for example, business organisations like the Federation of Small Business, the Chartered Bankers Institute and the Institute of Chartered Accountants for England and Wales have each published articles about employee ownership in their own membership publications, and that's really brought employee ownership to life for a new audience. And in terms of capacity building in Scotland, we've collaborated with Scottish Enterprise to support their programme of learning for advisors, which has really helped bring employee ownership to life through association with the Law Society and ICAS in Scotland. And our activity to broaden education about employee ownership through the Ownership Dividend means that we've now increasingly been asked to present at a much wider group of conferences and events, again reaching new audiences. And finally, that reach out into new audiences, I'm delighted, has also led to some really important conversations with organisations like the British Business Bank, UK Finance and the Bank of England, where we are really trying to address that important topic of access to finance. It's really important that employee ownership continues to be politically neutral, and we've seen that work successfully in the United States, where they've got bipartisan support, which has led to federal laws which are actively supporting the growth of employee ownership in the United States. Something that the EOA really would like to have in the UK. So it's really important that the EOA continues to engage with all political views. So since the Ownership Dividend was launched, I'm really glad that we've had the opportunity to use that evidence to engage directly with both main political parties at a very senior level, and that we're also now supporting the Confederation of British Industry, the CBI, as they develop their advice to this government about how to exploit employee ownership for the benefit of the economy. Delivering the Ownership Dividend also helped us have some clarity on where there are opportunities for synergies with other parts of the economy. So, for example, with worker cooperatives. So whilst a worker cooperative differs in its structure to an employee-owned business, it definitely shares many of the same values, not least the sharing of a stake and a say for all employees. But interestingly, what we also found was that we share some of the same challenges as well. Those in particular being lack of awareness, lack of professional advisory capacity and lack of access to finance. So one of the byproducts of the Ownership Dividend is that we are now working collaboratively with our partners in Co-ops UK, and we'll be seeking to influence government during the spending review to ensure that we get more attention for employee and worker ownership. The EOA's focus for the next 12 months is really clear. It's to influence, inspire and support employee ownership to become more respected, widespread and successful. So we're going to continue to target relevant influencers to ensure that our ambitious target of achieving 3 million employee owners by 2030 is met. At a practical level, that means more of the same. So we will be working with our partners to extend the reach through their business organisations. We'll be reaching out across all political parties to ensure there is a deeper understanding and appreciation of employee ownership's role in addressing issues in the economy and wider society. And of course, we'll be collaborating with our brilliant members without whom the ownership dividend could not have been delivered to make sure their stories and their case studies are heard. We start the next 40 years at the EOA in the best possible position, with strong evidence, a growing group of advocates and a clear ambition.